don't think it's going to be enough.
Off turn 4. Hello, Newman. Ryan Newman wins.
So with the chaos at the cutoff line, Ryan Newman is the talk this week. He is the main subject, as he has gone from tied for that last spot and being out due to the tiebreaker going to the Jimmy Johnson to 16 points in. So we will talk about that a lot today. And we'll talk about how a lot of stuff has shuffled up and how the playoff picture has actually changed a little bit. So some of the big changes, obviously, all those guys who won, they're in. Kevin Harvick added 5 more playoff points to his resume. Sometime I will do a full playoff update, everything. So that will include the bubble and the playoff points looking forward. So all the fun stuff. So Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, William Byron, they're very, very, very safe. Blaney has over 100-point cushion, Almirola 92, Byron 89. That's not going to be argued. That's going to be very hard for them to blow. William Byron has been running very well recently, and he has actually gone from, 15, 20 points to 89 points above the cutoff line. So he is an absolutely incredible raising that. And that's the same for the next two guys, Kyle Larson and Eric Jones. Eric Jones a few weeks ago was actually below the cutoff line, but he is now 70 points above. So he is looking good if it comes to pointing his way in. Obviously, he wants to win. And same for Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson was only like 20 or 30 points in. He's now 71 points in. So those guys we will not cover as much just because they are at least one race ahead and then some more points of that cutoff line. So Eric Jones, for example, finished dead last, and Daniel Suarez finishes first and gets 60 points, and Jimmy Johnson gets second and gets 53 points. Then he's still got a 10-point gap. I think that's how it would work out. I don't know. It's hard to figure out without a calculator, but he would still be in by a good 10 to 15, 20 points. So where does that lead us? That leads us with Ryan Newman, Clint Bowyer, Daniel Suarez, and Jimmy Johnson. Those are the only 4 that could potentially point their way in. Paul Menard, Chris Buescher has now moved into 20th in points. He's had an impressive points run. He's up into the top 20. Good for him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, Ty Dillon, Matt DiBenedetto. They are too far out points-wise to point their way in. They are in must-win situations. So they will need to win if they want any chance to get into the playoffs. And this week is kind of a wild card at Bristol. We know that crazy stuff can happen at Bristol. So Ryan Newman could wreck out lap 2, and Jimmy Johnson could get a top 5 and be in. Clint Bowyer could wreck out lap 495 after winning a stage or something, and Daniel Suarez could finish second at strategy. It could turn out being just crazy what could happen. Just Bristol, everyone's so tight together. It's such a small track. We've seen the leader get wrecked while lapping people in lap traffic and stuff. So it's been chaos at Bristol. And some of these guys who have not won this year that are way out that have to win, like Matt DiBenedetto, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, they run really well at Bristol. So they might be a little bit extra aggressive trying to go for a win if they are in the position to win, or making a call at the end of the race to potentially win the race. So watch out for those guys, because if they win, that knocks Bowyer out, and so that would put Bowyer, Suarez, and Johnson in the hunt trying to chase down Newman for the final points position in the playoffs. So that is where we sit heading into Bristol. But we're going to talk about a little bit what happened this week. So Ryan Newman takes advantage of the struggles of Jimmy Johnson and Clint Bowyer, along with Daniel Suarez. Suarez and Newman were they had the big benefit this week. Bowyer and Johnson, they were the big losers this week. If you remember, last week, Bowyer was 12 points ahead of the cutoff. Him and Johnson had a big opportunity because Newman had some struggles at Watkins Glen. He finished 20-something. And then Jimmy Johnson obviously was in that incident with Blaney. So he was actually tied in the playoff cutoff spot, but he could have been 15 or so points above. And Clint Bowyer could have been 20 or more above, but he had an incident or something, loose wheel, something happened to him. And so he ended up only being 12 points ahead. And now this week, Clint Bowyer crashes. Jimmy Johnson hits the wall early, finishes 8 laps down in 34th. Bowyer finishes 37th. And now Newman gets a top 15. He finishes 12th. So he takes advantage of these two guys struggling, and he makes it from tied to 0 to 16 points above. So obviously I talked about Jimmy Johnson and Clint Bowyer's struggles a little bit, but Ryan Newman's done something that those two have not been able to do. Take advantage of the other one's struggles. So if Newman can continue to do this, like let's say Jimmy Johnson or Clint Bowyer, Daniel Suarez, any of those guys have a bad day, and Newman just kind of gets top 15. That's a big advantage because let's say one of these guys finishes in the back 20s, so 26, 27, that's 11, 12 points. If they finish in the 30s, that's 20 or so points. Every position is a point, so however many positions back you fall, that's how many points you gain on them. Clint Bowyer did get some stage points last week, so that did help him a little bit. I think he got 4 maybe, so that is the reason why he has a little bit bigger of a gap because of those stage points he got last week. Newman didn't get any, Johnson didn't get any, and I'm not sure if Suarez did, but Suarez did get a top 5. So Daniel Suarez is our next topic. Coming into the week, I think he was 30-plus points out, and obviously the struggles of Jimmy Johnson and Clint Bowyer benefited him a bunch. He was able to, I don't think he got any stage points, as I said, but he was able to be up front at the end with that fuel mileage finish, and he was able to actually finish in the top 5. So he was able to get, 32 points, I think, versus, and then obviously Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, 2 other guys, one of them in, one of them out. He was able to gain big on them because of how far back they finished. And so that 30-point gap that Suarez had, or that Johnson and Bowyer had on Suarez, that is now closed, and it's now only 6 points for Bowyer. So now Daniel Suarez is in the mix to get himself in by points, and it has opened up this playoff bubble. I feel like this could go down to the last race. This could go all the way to Indianapolis, this close gap. Who's going to make it in, who's not. I think Indianapolis could be a very aggressive for these crew chiefs on certain calls to try to win stages or just to try to get as many points as possible, as many positions as possible. Because a 6-point gap, that could change, obviously, in 1 week. So let's say Daniel Suarez gets second in a stage this week, Clint Bowyer doesn't, and they both crash out after that. If Daniel Suarez has second he gets 9 points from that stage, and Bowyer has 1 point on the day versus Suarez is 10, that's 9 points, and now Suarez is in by 3 or 4 points. So obviously those stage points are a big deal. Obviously the drivers have talked about it. Jimmy Johnson's talked about it. Ryan Newman's talked about it. Clint Bowyer. Suarez will talk about it eventually. But these 4 are all fighting for 2 spots. Ryan Newman in the Roush Fenway Racing has blown us away this year. But a big opportunity for these guys. Remember Clint Bowyer, I think he finished second in this race last year, or he was running in the top 5 last year. I think he led up to one of the final restarts with like 20 to go. But he's run good at Bristol. Jimmy Johnson, that's been one of his best tracks recently in his little slump. So if he can run well there, that's good for him. Daniel Suarez, I haven't looked at his Bristol's numbers yet. And then Ryan Newman's been pretty dang consistent this year, so he just needs to keep that up, and he needs to start racking up some stage points to build up that gap on the other guys to put him in the Jones, Larson, Byron, Almirola, Blaney category. But it's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see how this turns out, but it's going to be a fun one. Bristol's always fun, even with these guys. The playoff bubble drama that's going to be going on. Even for the race lead, if they're not involved, like if it's like Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano battling it out for the lead, it'll be really fun just to see how everything turns out. The Bristol night race is always a fun one. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I know it hasn't a few times in the past, but hopefully it does this year. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave it a big fat like. That would be awesome. If you would like to subscribe, click on that subscribe button because that would be awesome. You'd make me and so many other people happy. Trust me, but thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it.